Hello, and welcome to today's podcast. With us today is Health and Human Services Commissioner Michelle Bratti. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, Casey Kennedy. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast today.
Thank you for joining us because we have a great initiative that your team has been working on for quite some time now. It's the Plymouth Addiction Response and Improvement Strategies effort, also known as ARISE. Can you explain to the folks at home what ARISE is?
Absolutely. And it is an incredible initiative. So basically, it's the town's coordinated response to the local opioid epidemic. And we aim to increase community engagement, reduce stigma around opioids and other substance use, while strengthening the community's capacity and enhancing resources for residents. Essentially, this is funding that came down through the federal government. So basically, the federal government sued manufacturers of drugs. You might know some of the names: Johnson & Johnson, Walgreens, CVS, because there was an opioid and there is an opioid epidemic crisis. So the federal government essentially said, that's not okay. You overprescribed, which led to the contribution of the opioid epidemic. And they won. So that those monies, if you will, that the federal government received, then were given to states to distribute to communities, which the state of Massachusetts and other states distributed to municipalities. The amounts vary based on population and size, but essentially we were entrusted, and I use that word very clearly, entrusted by the state to take these monies and to do good with them, to put them into our community, to serve Plymouth residents and visitors, to make sure that we were doing our part to combat the opioid crisis. Hence, ARISE arose, if you will.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So you did mention that this was federal. So is this an initiative in all 50 states?
Most states participated. You had to sign on, if you will, as a state to want to participate in these lawsuits. At the time, our governor, our AG, did decide that Massachusetts was a state that wanted to participate. The majority of states have participated.
That is wonderful because this is a great initiative. And I know, correct me if I'm wrong, this got enacted in Plymouth in 2024?
So 2023 is when we received monies. They had to be kind of vetted through town meeting process at the time. That has since changed. Actually, we don't need to go to town meeting, but originally we did. So there was a little delay in terms of procedure that was implemented by the state. They realized that procedure was cumbersome for time, so they eliminated that. But 2024 is when we really started to roll out and see what we could do. And what we decided to do was a mini grant program. And we kicked it off, if you will. We had Plymouth. You had to serve, and you have to serve Plymouth residents only.
Okay.
That was a really important component. So nonprofits and government entities could apply for mini grants through us, through the ARISE program. And we really, again, wanted to capture what was going on in our own community, what were the needs of our community, and really rely on the incredible resources we have in our community to come up with these lights out programs that would benefit residents. And boy, did they.
Yes. That was a perfect way into our next topic is the grantee program. So we currently have the fiscal year 25 grantees who are wrapping up. I believe they'll wrap up June 30th of 2025. And we've seen great success. They are doing wonderful work. Can you kind of explain a little bit about the current grantees, what they've done?
Absolutely. So there were 5 grants given in FY25 to Bay State Community Services, Brockton Area Multi-Services Incorporated, known as BAMSI, High Point Treatment Center, Plymouth Public Schools, and To the Moon and Back. And I could speak for days. When we get the final reporting, they've reported 3/4 of a year of data, if you will. But essentially, they are just doing things that are hitting the national level, groundbreaking. Senator Warren came down because she was so intrigued by their programs in Plymouth that she wanted to speak with them individually. So it's really been quite groundbreaking, as I say.
I mean, it's a great opportunity, like you said, for these nonprofits to be able to get some funding they might not normally be able to come across to help. And, most people might say, well, why are we spending so much focus and time and energy on an opioid crisis? But this is larger than just that. There's so many aspects to the opioid crisis. And in some ways, whether you know it or not, we're all touched by it.
Absolutely. You hit it on the head. Try to think of somebody who doesn't know somebody that has encountered addiction issues or issues within their family or loved ones or someone they know. Everybody knows somebody with addiction issues. And you're right. We needed to make sure this isn't the town budget. This isn't monies being used from taxpayers. This was a federal settlement. It's the first time that I quite honestly felt I have a checkbook. How can I help the community? And it's not costing anybody. It's only helping.
No, that is wonderful. So we're excited because yesterday you actually went live with the fiscal year 26 grant application that I believe is due on, I feel like it's Tuesday, May 1st.
Correct.
So can you explain a little bit about what people can expect, what that process is, who's eligible?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. That's exactly what we want to talk about. So we're excited. We have the money. We want people to apply, nonprofits and governmental agencies. So for example, I gave you some of the names of the current grantees. But anyone doing good nonprofit work for Plymouth residents, you don't have to have a corporate home base, if you will, in the town of Plymouth. You just have to prove that you are serving directly Plymouth residents. So nonprofits, when I say municipal entities, our Plymouth Public Schools were a grantee this past year. So we think of organizations such as maybe the fire department or the police department or different areas around town that really could use this money and create a dynamic program for our residents. We're open to that. So essentially what we do is we have what's called an RFP process, which is a request for proposals. That went, as you said, live yesterday. April 1st, it opened. That's no April Fools, but April 1st, it opened. It's on our town website, the application, all the information is there. Last year we did grants up to $50,000 each. We've increased that this year, grants up to $60,000 each. We feel we've honed and kind of corrected any little bugs or kinks that we want this seamless.
Yeah, it's an ever-evolving program. It was in its infancy last year, so it's only going to get better.
That's right. So we want to make it as easy for grantees to do this process and receive this money.
And sorry to question, because I'm curious. I'm sure listeners might be curious. What can these grantees utilize this money for?
Sure. So on our website and on mass.gov website under the opioid remediation settlement, the state has shared 7 strategies that they want these monies to fall under. So they're very broad. So I'm not concerned that someone who works, with those in addiction won't fall into one of these categories. But for example, there's criminal justice is one of the categories. Prenatal and children are one of the categories. Prevention is one of the categories. Those with lived experience. So it's very broad, but the categories are well spelled out on the application for everybody to see. And it's really about creating a program, again, that's unique to Plymouth. And all of these, what we've experienced so far, these nonprofits, they're scraping for money. All they want to do is help, right? They want to fix this problem, solve this problem, help our residents. And they're always scrambling for money. It was a license for creativity to be able to say, if you had money that you didn't have to scramble for, what would you do? And they did.
Age-old question.
Yes. So I encourage nonprofits and others who want to apply to really think outside the box, to get creative. What you can't use this money for, there's only one thing that the state designates you can't use this money for. If the program that you're interested in receiving monies for is already funded through a state program, you cannot double dip.
Okay.
It cannot be used.
Makes sense.
So you have to create a new program.
No, definitely makes sense. I think that is very broad. It allows a lot of different entities to be able to see maybe, think you fit as a possible applicant and eligible. But I mean, I think what you just said, there's so many opportunities for nonprofits and like you said, municipal entities to apply. So I think I'm talking for both of us. I would say we urge people to at least apply. The worst that they'll get is a no. Maybe they could hold in their program for a future date.
Yes, I thank you. 100%. I mean, we even encourage people to co-apply.
Oh, okay.
So there are, resources and nonprofits in Plymouth that have already started working together to think, how can we make this even greater if we kind of combine forces?
No, I love that.
And in that respect, each would receive up to $60,000. So you really can create something larger than life, if you will.
Together they join the $120,000 together. That's amazing.
Yes.
So is there anything else that you really want people to know about this grant application?
Yeah, just real quick, to your point, if we could so the RFP was issued yesterday. The applications are due back to HHS on May 1st. They will be reviewed. ARISE has an independent review committee, a panel that will evaluate those applications and select the grantees. They'll be notified in June 2025, and then the funds will be distributed early FY26, so sometime in July.
I love that. And just to wrap it up, you just gave so much amazing information. Where can residents and folks in the community find this information? I know it was posted, I believe, on the newsflash section of the website, but is there a section in HHS that this will go to?
Yes. So thank you for that. It is, as you said, on the front-facing page in the news on the town website. It is also going to be under the Health and Human Services, or HHS tab, on the town website. And there is a tab right for ARISE, and you'll find it there as well.
Awesome. And I know we've been sharing it on our socials, so we want people to keep a lookout. But thank you, Commissioner Bratti, for joining me. And thank you and your team. I mean, this is a wonderful, wonderful initiative. It's for a great cause. You're really, truly helping the community. And like you said, it's not coming out of any taxpayers' dollars. This is really, truly giving back.
The federal government sued, and they said, we need to correct this.
Which is great. That is a win. Win for all. So thank you for joining us, and good luck to all the applicants.
Thanks, Casey. Thank you so much for having me.